Welcome to the Airbenders pivot session. Today we'll be looking at zone defense yet again, and this time we'll be looking at junk defense. I would like to look at the person-to-person defense yet again and see how exactly it works, so that it helps us in understanding the junk better. Okay. Here we have a person-to-person defense stack. Person-to-person defense with a vertical stack. Let me also introduce all the terms that are going to be used. Uh, the person marking the handler with the disk is called the handler mark. The other two handlers who are assisting the handler are called the dump. Uh, if the dump is ahead of the stack, if he uh, begins the stack, then he's called the head of the stack, and it gives more space for the dump to cut and for the cutters to cut basically. Okay, the rest of the people in the stack are called cutters, and all the other defensive players are called marks. Okay, and the same setup in the horizontal stack or host stack looks like this: person-to-person defense, and again the mark and handlers and cutters. Okay, uh, now again let us look at how exactly the mark is going to handler mark is actually going to uh, divide the field, and how is he going to force. Okay, so now we have only the handler and the handler mark. The handler mark is going to divide the field into half. The side that is right now we are trying to force home, so that side is called the force side, and the other side is called the break side. Okay, and of course so we can always force away, and then the force side will be the away side, and the break side will be the home side. Okay, and now let us look at the same person defense with the from the cutter's perspective. The cutters From the cutter's perspective, as in cutter mark perspective, the marks are trying to take away or deny the cuts which are going to be on the force side and coming in. Okay, and try and contest the break side throws and the hucks. Okay, sometimes in windy conditions we could also turn and ask them to force away, in which case they are contesting the ins and denying the outs. Okay. Again, I would like to look at the handler mark. Instead of dividing the field into two, I would like to see that they are actually contesting a quarter which is right behind them, and they're making sure that there are no passes through to this side of the field. They can, of course, they'll be letting the breaks, the back passes easily go through. But in case if there is a good handler and you're trying to contest even the back passes, then he will be able to attack the break side also. So I would like them to contain only the the quarter which is right behind them. Okay, and when the setup for the word stack is so they're preventing this break side with this quarter. Okay, when the disk moves to the one side, in this case the break side, if the handler mark continues to deny the same quarter, he will be letting a big gap in between. Since the word stack is set up in the center, there is an easy pass which can go to the center of the field, and which is actually the break side, and they will be able to score. So the quarter has to be adjusted, so he has to almost come to a flat mark, correct, and take away this area right now, correct. So when that happens, what happens usually is that the offense also reacts and sets up diagonally. So it is called a diagonal stack because it is diagonal to the field, and the setup is the same. And now when the disk is thrown to the other side, home side, similarly we cannot be blocking this quarter. We have to try and take out a quarter which is, if they do only this, then there'll be easy dump and a swing, and that will break the defense. So we try and take out the dump side also a little bit. So the the quarter that you're blocking now again is not flat but little more on the break side, and accordingly the stack will also adjust and become another diagonal stack in the other side. Okay, I think we are getting this. If anybody has doubts, you can ask me till here. Okay, I guess not. Okay, then let us go into the junk, and let's see how so let us look at the cutting from the cutter's perspective also again. what are the cuts that are available in a vertical stack person to person defense. Okay, the first cut, okay, actually, sorry, let me look at the throwing lanes that are available. There are two lanes that are available. That is, one is a break side lane and the other one is the four-side lane. And from the cutter's perspective, the cuts that are going to be happening are the sharp cut, which is going to cut inside, maybe a wide cut, or a break cut, or a deep cut. These are the four kinds of cuts that are usually available. Last time we saw the cup defense, and the cup defense usually is a zone in which the defenders are trying to take away spaces in the field. From this diagram, you can see that the break wing is taking out a space on the break side, and the open wing is taking up the space on the open side, and short deep is taking a central position, and the deep is taking a big backside half. Okay, in the junk, we are not going to be taking away spaces. Instead, we are going to be contesting the lanes. There are two kinds of lanes. There's a throwing lane that we saw in the beginning. These are the two throwing lanes, and the cutting lane, which are the four cutting lanes that I explained. Okay. So now what happens is, okay, again, let me come to each position before we can continue. Again, the person with the disc is called handler. The handler mark is now going to be flat marking. Okay. And once he flat marks, there are only two lanes that are opened up. The lane which is wide of him on the foreside, and the lane little wide on the break side. Now what we are going to do is we are going to have um, people in the lanes. Okay, so now we have what is called the poach. Any person on the in the lane is going to be called a poach. Here we have the force poach and the break poach, who are going to be standing in the lanes, making the lanes even more narrower and even more wider. The only throws that they have are the wide throws now. Okay, and from the cutter marks, what we are going to do. Okay, so when you look at them, they look like a arrow. The three of them are in an arrow formation, and it's hence called arrowhead also. Okay, from the cutter's perspective, there is the center who's trying to go and take away the sharp in cut. There is the wide who's trying to take away the wide cut, and there is a uh, there is a break mark who's going to take away the break cuts. Okay, of course, there's a deep who's going to be taking away the deep cuts. Okay, so this is there are two lanes that we are blocking, and the four cuts that are possible that we are trying to block. So this is the junk defense in brief. So now let us look at how if we have a three-man handler at the back, the junk defense can also become a man-to-man, person-to-person defense, where each person in the stack is being guarded like they are doing a person defense, and the arrowhead continues. But I don't think we will be using this. This is what Jaideep was saying, that the front acts as a cup kind, and the defense acts as a person-to-person defense. Okay. Now let us come back to the junk defense, and let us see what happens, how the junk reacts when the disc is thrown to either sides. When the disc is thrown to the foresight, how does the arrowhead and the other players move is indicated here. So we want the force poach to again take up a position where the disc cannot go further. Similarly, we want the mark to set up and make it little more flat mark. From flat mark to go towards a side mark, and we want the break side post to come in and take away the dump. Accordingly, we want the wide to go a little deep and the break side to come in, so that they can counter the cuts. Okay, so this is and from the stack perspective, the offense perspective, that is, the stack is now going to try and orient itself diagonally, with the handlers trying to the handler who threw the disc going to come to a dump position, and the break side handler coming to the center position. Okay, so now that's how it is going to look. Now again, we are denying all the throws and the cuts. Okay, so when the disc is thrown to the other side, again we are going to do the same thing, and Usually we can in junk defense there are two things that you can do. One is change the force, in which case the whole the actual person, the center, will have to move a lot more than any other player. Or we can continue trying to force it one side. In our case, we are trying to force uh, home in this case. So we'll try and maintain the force and try and get back the disc to the other side. The main objective of the junk is to frustrate the offense by denying them both the lanes and both the throwing lanes and the cutting lanes. Okay. So that's how. Okay, let us now see how, when it goes to the break side, how the setup again, how the players move again. The break wing is now going to rush and make sure that the next pass does not happen. Uh, the mark is again going to come and set up in such a way that the arrowhead is again formed, with the arrowhead now facing diagonally. Accordingly, the stack will also move. So this is how it will look, and this will continue till I think we get a turnover. Okay. So of course they can put a junk against the horizontal stack as well. And if we do, this is how the setup looks. Again, we are okay now. Before getting into, okay, let me explain the questions. Again, the same handler, mark, break, poach, break, center, wing, and deep. From the offense side, it's going to be the handlers at the back, and the for people in the center are going to be called the poppers, and the people in the wide positions are going to be called offensive wings, offensive break wing and offensive open wing. Okay. And if the disc is in the center, the people in the center are going to be the active players, and the side players are going to be non-active. When the disc moves to either side, the active player combination changes. Okay. Sorry. Okay. In a horizontal stack, the cuts that are possible are what is called a piston movement is what usually happens, where the two active players are one person is trying to cut deep and come in, and the other player simultaneously is cutting in and going out. So at any time, the handler has two throws that he can make. Similarly, there's also the washing machine style, where the foreside person is trying to cut to the break side and get to the other active player's position, and simultaneously the other active player is cutting deep and coming in. So again, the handler has two throws that he can make. One is a short uh, pass to the break side, or the cut which is opening up. Okay. And so now when we put the horizontal, the junk defense against the horizontal stack, what we are doing is, since there is an arrowhead formation in front, the both the piston cuts and the washing machine cut are going to be neutralized by both either the brake wing, either the brake porch, force porch, and the center, or by the brake porch and the wide. Okay. So when the disc is so the only options that they have is to throw to the wings, the what do you say, offense wings, and that is being marked by um, the wide here, offense, the on the open side, and the break side mark on the, if it is a breakthrough. Okay. Again, when the disc is swung to the sides, what happens is the the arrowhead now shifts in such a way that it is forcing even more further and not letting the passes happen. Since it's a horse stack, it is actually easier to defend, and not much movement happens from um, the behind players. Okay. And same thing from the other side. So, okay, any questions, anybody?
One this thing, IP, when the disc
Yeah.
moves to the away side,
Okay.
yeah, go to the previous one. No,
Second. Okay.
no,
Oh,
no,
sorry,
no.
sorry, sorry. No,
Eh,
that's not that.
Everyone is there.
1 second. Sorry. The away side. Yeah. Okay. Huh.
So is this the default position? Because it feels like, the person behind the mark is in a dead space, no? Now.
Yeah. Now actually
They
he's in a
ran
dead
there,
space.
they ran there to stop the continuation,
Yeah.
but now they are in a dead space. So
So ideally, this person stays here, and the mark now comes little more to the central position, so that they'll allow the swing and try and again get to the other side.
do we
Action,
want the do we want the this person behind, instead of to first cover the swing and then come as the mark? You
we
think
can
switching
do
mark
that also. Yeah, actually that makes sense. Yeah, we can do that also. We can try both out and see which works. Yeah, sure. And yeah, there are junk defenses where the marks keeps changing depending on which side this is swung. Even on the four side, we can have the the poach actually marking and taking away the throws. That also can be done. Junk is actually, we get lots of different variations in junk, and we can adopt which our team can take up easily. So yeah, we can work on that. I think both junk and cup, I think we have to get on field and practice it. Otherwise, we'll not know what the problems are. And yeah, so yeah, I want to get back on field as fast as possible. Yeah. Anybody else?
This is the same as an arrowhead, no?
Arrowhead is actually more like what I spoke about when. 1 second.
Because the junk.
Yeah. So this.
Okay, we can mess around with this and see how that works. We can
Yeah,
actually.
The arrowhead is actually a similar play as the junk. Just that when the arrowhead is played, the cutters are going to be person marked. Basically, it's going to be like this. Okay, where the arrowhead is taking over the lanes, and the cutters are being guarded by their own person. That's the difference between arrowhead. It's a variant of the junk. Yeah.
IP, I have a question.
Yes.
Yes. This is regarding when we put a cup. No, couple of times when I've been part of the cup, this is what I have experienced. So when you're marking the hander in the front, right? So when the cup breaks and the disc is ahead, like in the center or towards the end zone, all the three markers have to catch up to the person who's having the disc in the second phase, right? So sometimes it gets very tiring. This is based on the experience what we've gone through. So any suggestion or tip you could give regarding the positioning, how we could tackle in those scenarios?
Okay, so that is why we do not put our normal cup, and we are trying to go towards the jab cup where the running is actually lesser. Okay, I have not put the slide for the jab cup. Unfortunately, I could have shown it to you again how jab cup is a little more effective, and make sure that you do not run much. Yeah, of course, in the cup, the idea of the cup is to tire out the cup and make sure they run and die. The rest of them is okay. That is disadvantage of a cup.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we'll have to. I have to get what jab cup is so that it will be cured.
It has been uploaded. You can watch it once, and if you do not, if you have any doubts, you can contact me directly. No problem.
Done that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Yash. Anybody else?
IP, as we move further down the field, how does the formation look on junk? Is there a disintegration of the junk towards the end, or will it still be effective as we go further down the field?
Junk usually after the mid, we usually transition to person defense. and that is the call taken by the deep. And again, in the junk, like in any other zone, we need lots of communication from the sidelines, and the communication also flows from the deep to the mids, and from the mids to the arrowhead, basically. So yeah, we can. I mean, usually the junk disintegrate into a person defense after a certain point, which is a call where we can take the deep takes. Is that okay, Vijay?
Yes, IP.
Do you
IP,
think
since IP, hi Gaurav here.
Yes, hi.
IP, since these are largely defensive strategies, and
Yes.
we are talking about the defense taking certain zones, could you just throw a little light on the short deep area where the offense generally tends to overload?
Okay. So again, let me go back to the. Let me go back to. Okay. So you're saying if both the cuts are being activated at the same time, both the short and the wide cuts are being activated at the same time, correct?
Yeah. And how should the short deep primarily prioritize, and how can the break side wing help in this case?
Yeah, so again, it is based on communication. Ideally, we do not expect any throws to go through the center, because there is a 3-person in front taking out the lanes. So it becomes very difficult for the cuts to come, I mean, the disc to come through the center, unless it's a hammer or something like that. And we would like the, the center to take the sharpest cut, and the wide to take the wider cut. If there are more than one cut, maybe you can ask the deep to help in, or the short, I mean the break side player to help in. Yeah, so we have to play it, Jiban, to really know how exactly it works. Is that satisfactory?
Yes, IPS.
Yeah, I've got a question.
Yes.
Do you think, say, there is a it's not transition play. There's a turnover near our end zone, and a stoppage is called.
Okay.
So to set up near the end zone, since it's not transition, do you think this will work if we set up a junk look, say once the opposition has reached the big mark and it's a stoppage, so we can position ourselves?
Yeah.
Do you think?
I think it should be possible. Anything beyond I mean, anything closer to the half where they're scoring, I think the junk works beautifully. When it comes too close, then the swings and dumps make it difficult to maintain the junk, and we usually move into person-to-person defense. In the Jap Cup, I think we can continue it all the way. So that is the difference. And definitely, if there's a stoppage, we can employ the junk. Yes, thank you, Deepak.